Hey everybody, I'm going to do a little bit of training on how to enter pre-plans in ImageTrend. Um, this is very simple. We're going to walk through this kind of step by step. First thing, if you look on the top side here, you're going to see where you got your normal drop downs. You're going to click on the incidents or whichever you have open at the time, and you're going to switch to locations, occupants, and inspections. When you do this, you guys will see this view existing portion on the left hand side of your screen. And for the majority of what you guys will be doing in pre-plans, it's going to be under the locations portion here. So if you recall back when we did the training initially, you have locations and occupants. So we kind of did a one-for-one piece here. So anywhere that you have a location, it's going to be basically the address of wherever that place or that building may be. And the occupant is strictly who's going to be inside that building. And I'll kind of show you what that looks like on the grand scheme of things here. So we'll click on locations, and when you do that, you'll see a list of locations, and they are all listed by the address itself. So let's say you had whatever building at 100 Westlake Road, it would be located right here, and then what you would do, you could either double click in this field right here, or you can go open it in the same window here, or open it in a separate window here. But before that, I'll kind of talk about everything on this locations list screen. Up here in the top right hand corner, you guys can search just like you can with any other window. Again, I would use contains, or if you know exactly what it is, or if you know something that starts with, you can go by that. But in contains, it kind of searches for everything. So if you're looking at a particular address, you can type it in. So if, like for number 1 Fuel Farm Road here, if you just typed in Fuel Farm up top and hit go, it would pull up exactly what you were looking for. So, with that said, we'll talk about a couple things here. You guys will remember from Firehouse where we had moderate and high classifications for our target hazards. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. You have your location name, which is the street address where that location or that building is. Organization, you may see that filled out sometimes. We like to kind of branch things down. You'll see here where possibility of it being an apartment complex, any of these type of things, and this list will be added to as we kind of progress through using the system. So it's just a one-stop method for us to kind of group things together. Property use is the same stuff that's in your NIFRs for your incident calls and reports that you guys do. The same type of setup here. So if you filter by that, you'll see specific things. Property uses here. You can even filter it up at the top on stuff you want to look for as the information gets input. So with that said, district and zone. So when the import took place, you'll see where some of these have just the number 6 as opposed to the FF02, which is Station 2's response district. As we kind of go through, this is one of the things that everybody's going to be responsible for changing. Just when we imported all the information from Firehouse, it just did not come through like it was supposed to. And then you'll see here prevention, the inspection districts and zones. This is something new from Chief McLam's folks. We're breaking things down in a specific zone so the inspectors know who's responsible for what. So we'll go into that a little bit as well. And then you'll see the address, city, and postal code for wherever you're looking at. Alright, so again, up in the top, just like everything else, you have your search bar and you have your gray box. If you want to filter anything out, you can do that in this location. So again, you have equal in if you want to pick multiple different things, or the opposite's not equal or not in, and you can filter it out that way. Building owners, if you know that, as we add contacts to this system, you'll be able to do that. It shows you the business that they're with and whoever it is. Just little things like this, you can kind of go down and sort it out. This right here is speaking specifically to your fire districts. So if you, as a captain at Station 7, want to go through and look at whatever is in your zone, once we get all these numbers here that are single digits switched to the FF07, you'll be able to utilize that. In the meantime, if you wanted to pick in here, you can do FF07, and I also have these broken down here, so you can capture everything that hasn't been switched over yet. So if you do FF07 and just the number 7 and hit go, you're going to see everything that's in that district. So there's 400 here that's in the system for Station 7's area. And of course, they're all listed by address, and then you'll go through and whatever pre-plan you decide to do. The easiest way for you to kind of go through that is to sort it out that way, and you can go down and look and see which one that you're looking for. You can go to it that way. Alright, so let's just say we pick whatever one. We'll go into one that hasn't been touched yet. So let's just go into 100 South Riley Road. We'll open that into a new window, and this is what the location screen is going to look like. So first and foremost, you're going to see it's kind of just the same kind of layout that you see in most of the other ImageTrend stuff. You have all the fields that you can input information in. You have stuff that's required on the left-hand side. You'll have your validation score on the bottom. Again, it goes through all the stuff, and if you click on whatever the issue may be, you click on that and it'll take you straight to the problem. So same stuff, same setup as what you have currently in like your reports or training or anything like that. It's going to have that validation score. So with that, you'll have general information. You'll have your name of the location, which should be the address itself. Property ID code is going to be whether it's moderate or high. One big piece about this is you guys will not be adding anything new at the company level. So all stuff that is brand new will be coming through our plans review folks or just from Chief McClam's folks altogether, whether it be inspectors or the plans review guys. You guys will not be inputting new information. If you guys run across something new that's not in ImageTrend, you will just have to notify them through the proper chain of command and get that situated. So again, you'll have the address broken down like it's supposed to be. Again, a big piece of this, making sure that you have your address as it is supposed to be in CAD. So one reason for that is making sure, however that address is going to come out when we have an incident, anytime that we have an incident at that location, it's going to dump in this location here for previous fire incidents. So if you click on that, that's exactly what that is. It'll show you a list of incidents that have occurred at that location. Again, it's extremely important to make sure that this part of the address is correct for that purpose. So all this stuff defaults. Obviously, the only stuff that we're doing pre-plans on is inside the city limits. Organization, again, if that's something that applies to what you're looking at, you're going to click on that. So response zone and district, here if you have that single digit, you're going to go in there and change it to whatever applicable city district that is, which is Station 9's. And then inspection and zone district, you'll have to go by whatever Chief McClam's has that set up as. If it's not done already, you can refer back to the map for that and make that selection. Latitude and longitude. So if you guys go out and just say you take the MCT or a tablet out there to do your pre-plan, if you stand at the front door of the location and you have the location turned on the device that you're using, if you hit set GPS location, it's going to automatically fill that in for you. Why we want to use this is we have that analytical platform that we utilize on the background, that continuum software. We use that, and in the near future here, we'll be able to use that for the occupants and the locations and stuff like that in ImageTrend. So we can go back and see all the target hazards in one area, stuff like that. We'll be able to go through and use that data collection to produce reports and things of that nature for Chief McClam and his folks. So plain and simple, on this front side here, this should, for the majority of this, be already automatically entered before it gets to you guys on the company level. But if it's not, just try to fill it out to the best of your ability. And again, we're shooting for that 100 score in the validation piece. Billing address, there's really no need to touch anything in here. This is going to be strictly for inspections. So the only two things that you guys will be dealing with is the general info and the building info for that particular location. So if there was something that was already in Firehouse, this information in the building info tab had pretty much came through for the most part. And if there's any adjustments that have to be made to this, this is where you would make it. So structure type is the same information that was in Firehouse as far as what you could choose. Building status, same thing. If you run across something that was in normal use, and let's say you go do a pre-plan and come to find out that it's been vacated, you'd be able to go ahead and switch it in here for that purpose. And property use, same stuff. You guys, it's the same information that's in your reports as far as the NIFRS codes. So like residential, you're going to go in your 4 group, 419s, 429s, things of that nature are going to be in there. Pretty much the exact same stuff that's going to be in your reports. So you can go in there and select those. Mixed use property, if it is mixed use, you can go in here and click on that. So whatever you have for the property use up top here, whatever the other use would be, you could go in here. Perfect example is if you had a taxpayer like downtown, for instance, you would have the property use as mercantile, and then you would have residential use as a mixed use property, or vice versa for it to be a taxpayer. So stories above grade, pretty self-explanatory. Same stuff here. If you guys get length and width, you can put in the numbers here and hit calculate, and it'll automatically calculate it. Or you can just pull out the total square footage from the property tax record, however you guys decide to do it. What is required is the total square footage. This is just a little flag reminder that it needs to be identified, but it's not something that's going to cost you that full score. Roof covering, this is all the same information that we were looking at in Firehouse. It's just broken down in a little different way here. Building construction type, your protected and unprotected, non-combustible, ordinary, wood frame, etc. All that stuff is under that. So locations, quick way to kind of break down the ease of use for this. Knox boxes, any of your shutoffs, your locations of your roof access, your fire alarm panels, all that stuff can be indicated here. So if you have a Knox box on the A side of the building, you would just strictly type it in, just like you would here. A side of the building there, and as soon as you put something in, that flag goes away. And if there's something that's no roof access, if there's something that's not applicable, you just put in that NA and you go in here, and it takes away that flag as well. Got it written up at the top here just as a reminder. So what'll happen is if you have particular building notes here, you can notify or you can put that down as well. And just for the sake of doing this, we'll show you whenever you put this information in, when we go to print it, and I'll show you what the pre-plan looks like when you print it out, it'll put all this information in that printout, so it's a one-stop shop for all that information. With that said, fire protection information side, a lot of this also came out of Firehouse as well. So what you want to do is go in here and notate whatever, if there are detectors present, it's going to ask you what type. You go in here and pick the proper type and the location. A general location works just fine for this. With that said, if you put in detectors as well, it's going to ask you for the power supply type. And then same thing for automatic extinguishment. So if we go through here, and if you find an automatic extinguishment system, you're going to put present, hit add, and put what kind of type. So if you have multiple types, let's say you have a dry pipe system throughout the whole building, and then you go in and put there's a halon system in the server room inside this building. You can just put in there that the location is different for the different systems, as opposed to in Firehouse you would just put in a multi-system type and you wouldn't really have a way to kind of identify where those things were. But that's how you would add that, just nice and simple. So with that said, we'll move on to the right side here. So anytime that you guys have this building information put in and everything's pretty much knocked out, you'll look on the right hand side here and we'll have a couple different things to talk about. So where you can kind of put your documentation, your pre-planned drawings will be in the documents folder. You hit add new here, and of course you can either browse and put a file in that you've already got, or you can take a photo of something, whether it be a floor plan that may be inside the building up on the wall. That way you don't have to ask for a copy or anything like that. You can just do that straight from the device that you're using. And of course put a title for it and a description and hit OK, and then it'll save it to the actual location file. And then occupants, we'll go to that after we're done, but you'll see here this is the name of the occupancy that's there. And then anytime that you have a previous occupancy in that location, let's say that different place was here or a different owner was here. We'll say a McDonald's moved into an old Burger King building, you would see it in the previous as opposed to what was current. And obviously if you want to see all of the occupants, you would click on all, it would show everything here. So we'll come back to that. On the inspection side, you guys won't see any of that at the company level until we start doing company-based inspections, which is a few years out. But with this said, once you kind of get in here to do inspections, we'll have a whole nother video on that. It'll break all that stuff down for you, but you should not see that up until that point. So for contacts, everybody should be able to add contacts anytime you guys go out and do a pre-plan. It's kind of the same premise as Firehouse was. If you have somebody in here already, you can search by the name or address. So I don't think there's anything in here already. So you would click on Create New. And when you do that, it's pretty self-explanatory. You kind of go through and put in the information. If you want to put in their business name, their email address, if you put same as location, if you click on that button, it'll auto-fill the address for you. And then obviously your work cell, home numbers, fax, all that good stuff. And then the big piece here is going to be plugging these in. So if they're a key holder, you would click yes, and you can type in the position that they hold at the company, and then any notes you would like to put in there. So just for a test, we'll show you what that looks like. So when you do put it in, you're going to put in the phone number, address, their name, and you hit OK, and it's going to store them in there and tell you exactly when you put it in, their contact information, what the position they hold, and then the little icon is going to tell you what they do. So if you went in here and looked at this, you'd be able to see John Doe was the contact for this particular location. So with that said, it's very simple. You just plug them in pretty easy. And then we'll move on to task. There's not really anything for you guys to do here. This is more for the inspection folks. And then on incidents, I kind of already touched on that. Anytime that an incident occurs here, as long as that address matches, everything is going to dump in here that's related to that occupancy. Alright, so bottom right hand corner, you'll see pre-plan info. If you click on this, it's going to give you another location for you to store information about this location. So hazmat storage, if you guys run across any large scale hazmat storage, you'll be able to go in here and put in whatever ID number it is, the chemical name. If you search whatever it may be, it'll autofill the UN number and the CAS number, and then you can go in and put in your DOT hazard class, which is pretty self-explanatory. Container type, again, this is looking for large scale. If they have a 5-gallon gas can, that's not what this is looking for. This is looking for a much larger scale amount. And then of course going in and put in, if they have a 704 placard, you can put in whatever they've got set up there. And again, it just kind of fills it all out for you, makes it pretty self-explanatory. We'll just run through it real quick just to put in some test stuff. And again, if there's any type of large-scale storage, you're going to put in what pressure it's stored at, temperature, all that good stuff. And this, we're not going to see a whole lot of this here. But if you had anything that showed up, you just want to put that in as far as notes or anything like that, or lat long of that particular bit of storage. Any of that information can be stored in this hazmat piece. So when you hit OK, all that information is going to dump into the front part here. Let's see, sprinkler systems, same thing. Again, you already talked about this on the front side, but this right here is more talking in specifics to like riser locations, your drains, your cutoff locations, any of that good stuff. It's where you can notate that. Let's say there's a system in right side of the building. We'll say cutoff location, D side of structure. And then you can go through and put in all this information if you have this, if they have the information on the cards that's on the riser, you could be able to see all that here. If there's a fire pump on site, you can notate that here. Say it's a 2,000 gallon. Hit OK, it saves all that information there. On-site materials, again, kind of like the hazmat stuff, it's just looking for bulk storage. So if you had a ton of pesticides stored somewhere, you would just put in whatever that material is and then bulk storage and hit OK, and it saves it there. So that's all for that tab, pretty self-explanatory. Overview, so this is where you're going to notate certain things about your pre-plan. So this is where you're going to put in your strategic, what's going to take place if you guys run a call at this location, special instructions if you had limited access in the parking lot, or you had a pre-plan description if you wanted to go in here and notate something, HVAC system on the roof, just whatever you want to notate about that building can be put here. You hit OK. And then additional building info. So here is where you're going to locate your hydrants. So primary hydrant, we'll say whatever the first one is, you can put whatever for type, whether you want to put PWC or whatever you want to put in that location, or you can actually put in the number there, and then the location, we'll say it's 200 yards from the A side. And we'll just put in the number for the hydrant there. You hit OK, and it's going to tell you that primary hydrant location and all that right there. And it breaks it down. If you had a secondary hydrant close by, we'll say it's 150 yards from the B side of the building. You hit OK, and it kind of breaks it down into different categories here, kind of make it easy for you. So with that said, you'll notice down at the bottom, since we put in hazmats, you'll have that 704 show up in the bottom right-hand corner. And then we'll say theoretically that we've input all the information and we have that 100 validation score. You guys have completed the pre-plan. You've gone through and put all the information that you know to put in here. When you guys are done, you of course would hit save. And to print off the pre-plan and put it in your book on your truck, you're going to hit the print button here. And everything that we've put into this system or into this actual pre-plan is going to generate something when you print it off. So when you put all that information in here, as far as like the total square footage, your fire alarm panel locations, all your locations will come up here. If you have an extinguishing system present, it'll be here. You have your hydrants located here, your on-site materials, that bulk storage, the hazmats on scene, your sprinkler systems, location contacts. When you add them, they will all jump in here. So when you do this, it's just a pretty straightforward piece. You can right-click, hit print, and you'll be able to kind of either set it to your printer or set it as a PDF, and however you want to do that, you can print it out. If you have the color part set up on your printer, you can do that as well and print it in color. But this will print out whatever you have listed on that pre-plan, and you can put it in the book. So that is pretty much it for the location piece. So I kind of talked about on the occupant side where we go back and visit that. So making sure all the information is good here on the location. You're going to go in here and put in the occupants piece here. So we have family fare at this location. So if you click the button here, it's going to take you to the occupant. And then when you look at this, you'll see a lot of other information that's here. So priority facility is what we're looking at as a target hazard. So if you had high as your ID on the front side, then priority facility would be yes here. If it's moderate, no would be the answer there. Occupant start date, if you guys are going out for the first time and you have not, there's not a date in here, you can put the date that you guys are doing the pre-plan as a start date, and then leave this field blank unless they are no longer occupying that particular area. Again, you can go down here and break down the organization. The same stuff that you saw on the location you can do in this in the occupancy record. And of course, if there's something missing, you can populate from location. It'll bring over these little bits and pieces of information here, which we don't use this bottom one, so it's really just these three up at the top. So with that said, you'll go through building class code. This is again more so for the inspector folks, for them to go in and kind of signify with the building class code in relation to their fire code. And then again, your length and width for this particular occupant. If you have, let's say, a strip mall, you'll see this be different than the location itself. For the occupant, let's say you had 5 occupants in a 100 by 50 building, you would break it down however it's divided, and there's occupants here. And then of course property use, inspection schedule, this is for the inspectors only. And then if there's any notes, this is just the stuff that was brought through from Firehouse. So if there's anything that needs to be notated here, you can add to that as well. Address, same stuff. Latitude and longitude, all that stuff will come through whenever you do the location side. Billing company, again, strictly for inspections. The phone number, first, if you have somebody, as far as like a key holder or anything, if you want to put that phone number in here, you can. Again, it'll be in the contacts tab whenever you do that, but it doesn't hurt to just put this on the front side so it shows up whenever you look at the list of occupants. So you can put that information in there. And then occupant load, this is again for the inspector folks. There should really not anything you should be adding there. On the right hand side, you'll see again the same things that we saw on the location level. You're not going to be doing too much on the occupants tab other than really just the general info tab, making sure that that information is filled out. Again, here you'll see inspections, contacts, task, and permits. This is all related to the inspections folks. But the pre-plan info that you have for the location is going to carry through the whatever occupants are there. So if you have that strip mall like I was talking about, let's say you had 5 different occupants there, you would see whatever for the entire building on that pre-plan info tab. So that hazmat storage that we talked about, that would all be added here. The sprinkler system, all that good stuff will be added here, and it'll be available on all the occupants. And of course, you can go back to the home page or the location, if you will, by clicking the orange button here, and it'll take you right back to whatever you were first working on for that entire pre-plan here. So it's pretty cut and dry. Again, the majority of the information that you're going to be doing is input on this location tab, and it's going to be in this general info and the building info piece here. So once you kind of break all that down and go through and add it, you'll see where all that information is kind of in a one-stop shop. Once you finish it, again, you just hit print, pull up your pre-plan report, you right-click, hit print, and you'll be able to print it out and put it on your truck. So you guys will have that as a paper copy as well. So with that said, it's pretty much it. When you complete the pre-plan, you'll just do a training entry like we've been doing in the past. And then, of course, you'll always have your pre-plan review every month as well. Just same thing. If you go through and let's say you have the old firehouse copy in your report for your review, I would just take the time that when you guys do that is to go in and fill that information that's on the firehouse report in your binder and go back in and just input it in the new ImageTrend side and then print out a new one. That way you guys can just kind of start chipping away at all this information that has to get put in. But of course, if anybody has any questions, just reach out to the P&R office and we'll take care of you.